Well, welcome back, family. We've been talking in our family series, answering some questions, but we did start one of our podcasts talking about our 30-year journey, really your 30-year journey, and how amazing that is. And I want to ask a question about this before we get into family questions. Looking back, what did you believe about God at 24 and 25 years old that has been most confirmed over these 30 years for you?
What do you believe about God that has been most confirmed? I'll let you go.
I will start by saying that he definitely loves us,
Mm.
and that he has been true to his promises from the beginning. So we trusted him when we came here. We believed God. All we knew was that God was going to bless the work that we put into building this vision for him, and he's done just that. So if anything else, I know that he truly loves us, because there wasn't much that I think we had to offer at that young age, but we were willing, and I think he just blessed it as we continued in our journey.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is we believe he was faithful, and he has been faithful. I think the thing that has probably been the biggest aha moment is his faithfulness doesn't always look the way we thought it would look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's some things that have looked exactly like we thought. They walked out exactly like we planned. There are other things that we've stood and believed God for that didn't turn out the way we thought. But he's still been there every step of the way. He still has worked all things together for our good. And I've come to realize sometimes when it doesn't work out exactly like I thought, it's easy to blame the devil and the enemy's attack. I've come to realize sometimes it's a divine delay, sometimes a divine setback even, not with sickness and disease or tragedies or things like that. But I realize God sometimes wants to work more on our character and growing us up to get us ready for what's next, as opposed to just fixing the problem right away. Kind of like your 5-year-old that you've taught them how to tie their shoe, and you could tie it until they're 25, but it's not going to help them unless you finally step back a little bit and give them some space to do what they've been taught to do. And I've just realized over these 30 years, there have been a few moments there where I would have loved for God to rush in and fix it right now.
Yeah.
But he's kind of stepped back and given us space to let what he's taught us, what he's matured us in, to kick in and work. And ultimately, it always comes back to what David said. I've been young and now I'm older.
Yeah.
I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. It's just that the way that the way that God has cared for the righteous has not always been according to this straight line that I'd like him to. There's been some crooked lines every now and then, but he's been there every step of the way.
Yeah, and I think what we believe early on foundationally about God impacts everything we do, and especially in our families, right? And so I think some of that will flow into the questions today we have about family and blended families, extended families, etc. The first question I want to ask in that regard is about marriage. Somebody just said, "Why is marriage hard?"
Well, I mean, don't mean to be callous, but marriage is not hard unless we don't do marriage God's way. God is the author of marriage. And when he performed the first marriage ceremony, Adam and Eve in the garden, and he looked at what he created, this beautiful couple, the man and woman he brought together, and he said it's very good. So he didn't say it's very hard. He didn't say it's going to be very tough. So when marriage gets very hard, it's generally because one or two things have happened. One, we haven't been taught how to do it the right way to begin with, so we just try hard. And there's no credit for sincerity. You don't get credit for having an amazing marriage because we're both sincere. You got to have the right information, first of all. And then once you have the right information, you have to have two people who are both willing to fully submit to that information and be willing to make adjustments when we're wrong. And so the reason why marriage can feel so hard for some people is the same reason that life often feels so hard for some people, is because human beings, and that's not pointing the finger at anybody else, we have a tendency to want to do things our way and still get God's result.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. If we want God's results, we have to do things God's way. And that's in marriage, that's in our finances, that's in raising our kids, that's in how we run a church. No matter what we're doing, it gets hard when we're trying to do it our way and still expect to get the results that God promised us.
I think that for us, from the beginning, we determined to make the Word of God the final authority. So when you run into situations where you're in disagreement or you are in some type of conflict, we just always made the decision, well, let's just go back to what does God's word say about it, and let that be the determining factor, the line drawn in the sand that this is how we're going to do it, regardless of maybe how we think about it or what we want. We just decided, and that's been something that has proven to make marriage, I want to say, pretty easy. For us in coming to terms with differences, or why people think it's so hard. It's not hard when you, like he said, got to do it God's way. You get the information and you got to do it his way.
Now, it's challenging, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, because you got two people who weren't raised in the same house, didn't necessarily believe all the same things growing up, didn't have all the same experiences, and you try to mesh this into one house and live happily ever after. It can be challenging. It can stretch you. But when you're born again, you have the heart of God, you have the character of God, his love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, and self-control, then it can work. But it just takes two people who are determined to make it work, who don't want to just live in this is enough kind of land, and are going to do what it takes to pour into each other. And in our marriage, it'll be 33 years for us this year. We love each other, and we want to be together. I don't have a desire to not be with her. And if I don't have a desire to not be with her, I'm not trying to find a way to get out of this. And that means, and I also don't want to be with her and be miserable.
Yeah.
So it leaves you only one option. Let's work hard at keeping this good. And that means making it a priority. That means not letting other people get in the way. That means not letting, we used to have this saying, we said a lot when we were younger married, let's not make a big deal out of little deals.
Yeah.
A lot of times couples do that. It's not that big of a deal. If something were to happen to them, God forbid, you'd be devastated that you let this be the thing that had you all at odds. And so I think early on we mastered the art of let's not make a big deal out of little deals. And from that, we've just always come back to the table to try to work it out.
And I heard you recently talk about ignorance, which is the difference between being stupid and being ignorant. And ignorant is just not having the right information. So we got to get the right information. And if you're thinking about getting married, premarital counseling will help you get some good information to not have such a hard marriage. It's work, but if you have the right information, it makes it easier. So good. So how would you, we'll stay on marriage for a second. How would you guys define the roles of husband and wife?
From a biblical standpoint, husband is supposed to be leader, protector, provider. Wife is supposed to be support, assistance. The Bible said when God looked at Adam, he said, it's not good for him to be alone. I will make him a helper who is meet for him, a helper who is suitable for him. So regardless of what the world says, this just goes back to why does marriage get hard? If we're going to do it our own way, if we're going to take all these philosophies from the world and feminism and everything else, and we try to force that into God's agenda, then it's going to be hard because we don't ever get to change God's mind. God's mind is made up. He's right. He's holy. He's pure. There's nothing wrong in him. And so his idea of what marriage is supposed to be is that the husband is supposed to be a provider, a protector. He put Adam in the garden. He told him to dress the garden and keep the garden. Keep the garden means protect it, keep out all the intruders. Dress the garden means to work your garden with no wages, which means do what's right even if you don't get applause. Do what's right even if you don't feel appreciated. That's a man's responsibility. And if we stay with the Bible in the beginning, before there was sin in Genesis chapter 3, he said to the woman, I'm creating you to be a helper who is just right for him. So that, the best description I can give is like a hand in glove. The man is supposed to be the hand, listening to God, who's communing with his wife. They're talking about everything, but he's supposed to be the one that is trying to lead his family in the direction God says. And the wife is supposed to be the glove, who adjusts, is willing to fit him. So that means in the dating process, they got to make sure that we can fit. Got to make sure that our personalities can fit, that our commitment to Christ can fit. And when that happens, then you have a husband who's doing his part, loving his wife like Christ loves the church. You have a wife who's submitting to and respecting her husband in the same way she'd submit to and respect Christ if he were physically here. So that's the roles. when you get into what should each person do in the marriage, that's totally up to every couple. You know, in our house, we have certain, we call it primary responsibility. And we kind of, when we were in our premarital process, we went through and laid out all the stuff that has to happen in the house, stuff outside the house, from the yard to the cars being gassed up to, you know, whatever, trash being taken out, then the stuff inside the house, from the beds being made up, the kitchen being clean, who's going to make sure we eat and have food. And we just kind of divvied it up. And in our house, she has most of the stuff inside the house. You know, she's the primary person making sure our clothes are washed, making sure that the bed is made, making sure that a meal is cooked or we have something to eat. I handle all the stuff outside the house or stuff that needs to be fixed. But that doesn't mean that either of us can't creep over and help the other.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it's not like I never make up a bed because it's not my role, or I never cook. I actually cook a decent amount. But I know some marriages where the husband cooks most of the meals.
Yeah.
And there's nothing biblically wrong with that. So there are clear roles from a biblical standpoint in terms of what the husband's role should be, what the wife's role should be. There's a lot of ambiguity and room to decide in terms of the duties of the house.
Right.
And who's going to take which duty.
Yeah, I think it's really good, differentiating role versus duties. Yeah. Because in my house, I do 99% of the cooking. If I tell the kids, hey, mama's going to cook dinner, they'll start laughing. They're like, they call me a liar. Did you have anything to add to that?
No,
PA?
just that's definitely how we've looked at things. And he's definitely takes, I think, pride in the role that God has given the husband. He's definitely going to protect the family, and I have to realize that he's going to protect it in the way that he feels is the way God is leading him to protect. So I don't get in the way of that. So if you coming after the family, you're going to get all of the stuff that most people don't see. But I let him lead in his role, and I know that God has graced me to be able to fit like the glove to be what he needs. And it used to be, I have to think about it. How do I adapt and adjust? Now it's just pretty natural. I don't even really think about it. It's almost like I'm molded and shaped to be able to become or be. And sometimes it changes from season to season. Oh, I hadn't seen this, or we hadn't experienced this, but God just gives me and graces me what I need to be able to adjust and adapt. And wives have to realize that God will give you exactly what you need to become what your husband needs for you to be. And it's not a demeaning thing. It's not a superior, like he's more superior than you are. It's just how God created us to fashion us to be able to be molded and reshaped if needed to help your husband fulfill the vision for the family.
And just like she's saying that she gives me space to be protector, I have to give her space to be helper.
Oh, yeah.
Because she has a lot of ideas. She's got a lot of opinions. And I can't be the kind of husband that says, well, I'm the head, I'm the leader. I do it my way, and I just come in and inform you what I did. I'd literally talk to her, ask her about almost every decision I'm going to make. And I think what has made it so great for us is that she never feels undervalued. She never feels like her opinion doesn't matter. Now, and I never feel like she's trying to tell me what to do. So it works well because I really, really esteem her opinion. I'm asking her everything. I'm bouncing stuff off of her. I'm taking in the information she's sharing with me, giving me her perspective. And then I ultimately make the decision I think is right for our family. But I'm not making decisions where I just kind of placate her. I'm hearing you, but I never do what you think I should do. But she's also never holding me accountable to where she shares with me something, and then I don't do it. Now she got an attitude. She gives me space to lead, but I honor her by legitimately listening and valuing what she has to say, because she knows me like a book. She's got a balance sometimes that I don't have in certain circumstances. And when I'm on one side, she's usually on the other side, and you put us on the scale together, and we end up making a good decision.
Complimentary. That is amazing.
But can I? Yeah. But that's also why it's so important when you're dating that you got to date the right person, man, and be willing to walk away from the wrong person. Because a lot of what we're talking about happens because we do fit well, and We worked through a lot of our issues when we were dating, because when we were dating, we were polar opposites. I'm from one side of Detroit. She's from the other side of Detroit. I'm from a single parent home that had a lot of instability. She's from an extremely stable 2-parent home. So our perspectives were dramatically different when we were dating. But we talked, we argued, we debated, we not physically fought, but we fought enough to get to the place of where we thought about walking away at times. We came back and rehashed it and found out, no, we're a good fit for each other. So by the time we got married, we were a lot closer in philosophy than if we had tried to jump in and get married quickly just because we wanted to be with each other. So I think one of the reasons why you can't take a round peg and make it fit into a square hole. It just won't. So you got to make sure that the fit works well in terms of backgrounds and commitment to Christ. So then you can start from a place of being able to be the hand in glove with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that just is a perfect lead into the next question then, because obviously there's times you wouldn't agree on things. Mm-hmm. So how do you fight fairly and disagree agreeably then in those situations?
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you start.
Well, it goes with communication. You have to, you say fight fairly. That is to hear each other out. Mm-hmm. And as he said before, he gives space for me to give my opinion. He gives his opinion, and sometimes it's different. And sometimes we are disagreeing. And a lot of times in our cases, if we are disagreeing, if it's not something that has to be urgently made, a decision that has to be urgently made, then we'll lay it down, give it some time, both go pray about it, come back and have another conversation, see another perspective. And generally, we end up on the same page. But there are times that, maybe we just see it differently. I have to give him space at that moment then to go ahead and make the decision, and it becomes our decision. And we don't have a whole lot of those, because I can't even give a real example, because generally we come back until we both agree. But fighting fairly is, I think, hearing each other out completely, and then both willing to go and pray about it sincerely and come back to the table and say what you got.
I think the one thing we both know about each other is that we both love each other. Mm-hmm. There's no question about that. Mm-hmm. There's no question about either of us ever wanting to hurt the other person. So when you know that about one another, then you never hear what they're saying from a hurtful spot.
Yeah.
Like, I never interpret what she's saying as she's trying to hurt me. She's trying to get at me. Yeah. And in 33 years of marriage and even 4 years of dating before that, there has never been a conversation that we've ever had where I've said stuff that was piercing her, or she said stuff that's pierced me. I have never been hurt by her words. 37 years almost. Never been hurt by her words. And so the fair fight part is we disagree, but we don't disagree with pain. We disagree, but we don't say stuff to hurt each other. She knows stuff about me. She knows my hurt. She knows my fears. She knows my insecurities. She knows stuff from my childhood that I've confided in her with, that, man, I wish this was different. She's never reached back and grabbed that and said, that's why you grew up this way, and use it as a dig. Because if it would, there'd be a wound there that would make me put up a wall to make sure I protect myself from her. And I don't have a wall to protect myself from her. She doesn't have a wall to protect herself from me. So the fight fairly part is where we're never trying to hurt each other. And if we accidentally say something we think might have been hurtful, we come back around, babe, I'm sorry. Because she says I'm a bear. I don't agree.
He's
that
a bear.
But I'm very direct. You don't ever have to wonder what I'm thinking. I'm willing to be honest. But sometimes, especially early on, I was so direct that it probably was hurtful. And I had to learn how to communicate with a female. I had to learn how to communicate in softer tones. I had to learn how to tamper it down and don't be so direct and aggressive sometimes with how I said what I said. And even now, if I find myself too tired, too hungry, too whatever, and my response is a little too curt, I will come right back around, babe, I'm sorry, didn't mean to say that way. And I think living like that allows us to communicate, allows us to disagree, And then it allows us to take, certain things and just have fun. We had one of these yesterday, man. We were sitting at home.
Don't do it.
We
Don't
were
do
sitting at
it.
home, and she has a birthday coming up. And I was joking about her birthday and joking about, trying to round up in age. And I'm having fun, man. Me and my son is there. We both cracking up, and she got fiery mad. And I got mad that she got mad. And finally, I just apologized. Well, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to, to joke about your age. I didn't think it was a big deal. I apologize. She went her way. I went my way. We, had a chance. She went and laid down for a minute. I went and took a drive. By the time I came back home, it was over. We were right back to normal. And then I had fun with it. So now I just been calling her young lady. But we've learned how to take moments that could linger and become a big deal, and let's make it not a big deal. It's easy for me to apologize. Now let's have some fun with it, because it wasn't done intentionally. It was done without realizing that was bothering her the way we were joking about it.
So what I heard you say is slow to speak, slow to get angry, quick to listen. And when you pray, I'm assuming you're not praying, God, help him hear it my way.
Right.
Right. Well, hey, that's all the time we have for this episode, but we have a lot of questions. So I challenge you to keep tuning in, because you're going to be blessed in the coming episodes.